Morning, you guys. I thought I would do another of these chats, but today I'm curling my hair. So I've got my GHD curve. This is, I'm going to switch it on, and then you'll hear it make a funny noise when it's ready. This is what I use most of the time for curling my hair, and this is my favourite thing to use. Just looking for my little clip. So I use a little crocodile clip and clip my hair up. But yeah, rather than ironing chat, I thought I would come and chat while I'm doing this. And these have worked out really well because I'm doing these things when my tramadol has kicked in, you know, when I've got some pain relief on board. And it means I can kill two birds with one stone, I suppose you call it. It doesn't feel like that. It just feels like I'm chatting to friends. You know, I'm catching up with friends whilst also doing something that I was going to do anyway. So you will notice my finger. Let me just tell you what I'm going to spray on my hair because I have been finding this working really well. This is the Umbertio Giannini Heat Shield Frizz Control Heat Protection Spray. I love that this is a heat protection and also a frizz control spray, but I have been finding using this has made the curls last longer. So I'm just going to spray this bottom bit so that we're done. I can get on with it. And then I will just leave them and not brush them through or anything. In the morning when I'm doing my makeup, I watch my guilty pleasure TV, and at the moment it's 90 Day Fiancé. And I've also been watching Love is Blind. Does anybody watch that? Kind of like Married at First Sight. Anyway, yes, you will notice my finger is all bandaged up, and that is because I'm going to have to use this as a mirror. I forgot about that. Because I had what's called nail avulsion. No, do you know what? I am going to have to use a mirror because this is not, my eyesight is not good enough. Even with these, I've got contact lenses in that are definitely helping, but I can't really see what I'm doing there. So I need my mirror. Yes, so nail avulsion I had done on my finger. Now, I don't know whether you'll remember. If you've been with me for a while, most of you will know that I've got a wonky nail. And it's one of the reasons I do, you know how I do stripes on my fingers? I do the black nail polish and then I put stripes on. And the main reason for that is to just divert the eye away from the fact that this middle nail grows that way. It grows wonky. And I've always thought, God, I wish there was something I could do to change it, you know. Well, when I was literally 17, I had an ingrown toenail and I had what I didn't know it was called that, but I had nail avulsion on that, which is basically they cut away part of your nail and they put phenol on it. I found out it was phenol, which kills the nerves, and then you never get this ingrown toenail problem. Well, of course I never had that problem after being 17 years old, but I also had a slimmer nail. I've got one slimmer nail. My big toe on one side is slimmer than the other, and I always kind of liked that, and I always thought I kind of wish I'd have had it done on both toes because I actually paid for it. I remember I paid for it. I was working full time, but I paid for this treatment because it's not something you can get done on the NHS, you know. And just a couple of months ago, I was thinking to myself, they should be able to do that for fingers. I didn't know what it was called at this time, you know. I was just like, I can't even ask for this treatment anywhere because I don't know what it's called. But I thought, let me see if the podiatrist that I go to, I don't know whether they're a podiatrist or a chiropodist. I don't know what the difference is. I think it's a podiatrist I go to. Anyway, I have been to them for my orthotics. I've got custom orthotics. Both Kev and I got these custom orthotics from this place. It was recommended to us, and my God, they've been a lifesaver. And so they should be at £300. But that was £300, and we spent that. I'm sure we used our council tax money, you know, the 3 months you get. But that was 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know. And neither of us will wear shoes without these orthotics in anymore. It helps my knee pain, helps my ankle pain, helps my plantar fasciitis just disappeared once I got these. I've never had it back since. It's helped. Kev has got some sort of ligament issue with his ankle. That's not a problem anymore. It's helped his back. Anyway. So I thought I would get in touch with her and say, you know, listen, I'm thinking of correcting this nail. Is that something that's possible? And it was the owner that I emailed. And she came back and said, yeah, no problem. That's something we can do. We're insured for. And I said, I made sure and said to her, this is totally cosmetic. Like, there's nothing wrong with my nail. It's not hurting me. it's just cosmetic. But she said, yeah, we can do that. And I was like, oh, fantastic. And so I just thought, right, just make an appointment, just do it. I went along to the appointment. I was a bit nervous because firstly I had to leave Watson, and you guys know I don't really leave Watson. But I had booked it before I knew Watson was getting his surgery, because that was all very sudden, as you know. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go because I had paid a deposit and I didn't want to lose my deposit. And, you know, Watson was ill enough that he was sleeping. He didn't need any supervision. He was literally just sleeping. So I was like, right, I'm going to go. And when I turned up, it was all a bit of a nightmare. I got there early, couldn't find a parking space, I had to go and park somewhere else and then walk there. And then the woman was late. And when the woman turned up, she said to me, oh, you're here for nail surgery? And I was like, yes. And then she was sort of looking at my feet and saying something about my footwear. And I was like, well, it's on my fingernail. And she was like, huh? You know, she was really surprised. She was like, it's on your fingernail? And I was like, yeah. And she said, oh, she didn't tell me that. So that information had not been passed to her. And she was like, let me have a look. And I showed her. And she immediately, thankfully, saw what I was talking about, because Kev can't see it. He's just like, can't see it. And another friend that I was dog walking with last week, she can't see it. Yeah, there's people that are just like, no, I think it's something that you notice just because you know it's there. But this woman immediately was like, oh yeah. And so she was giving me all that, okay, I've never done it on a hand before, but I don't see why not. And, you know, she says the only thing is, it might get a white line down one side of it. You know, it's almost like, you know, how the tip of your nail is, that might happen down the side of the nail. And it almost seemed like she was trying to put me off. And the problem is, you know, you're not always going to have nail polish on, are you? And I was like, well, yeah, I don't ever not have nail polish on. Which actually, when I think about it, is that a bad thing? I don't know. And then she was like, oh, really? Oh, well, you know, maybe 10, 20, 30 years down the line when you don't want to wear nail polish. And I'm like, well, if I get to the point where I'm not bothered about wearing nail polish, then I probably won't be bothered about like a little white line, you know, that won't bother me. So she was like, right, yes, fine. So she did it. And it was it £220, I think, which I'm hoping will be worth it. It wasn't painful at all, other than, you know, sticking the needle in for the anaesthetic the local anaesthetic was pretty painful. And she had to do that twice because Ehlers-Danlos, she did talk a lot about the Ehlers-Danlos, and she was saying, you know, we'll probably need more anaesthetic for you, which is right. So she obviously knew a bit about it. So yeah, that hurt a bit. And do you know, we ended up talking about dogs, obviously, because I'm obsessed with Watson. And she had a dog that we think could have been the half sister of Watson. How funny is that? But yeah, it wasn't painful at the time. Then when I got home, it was a little bit painful. That night was fine, but the following night, the second night, bloody hell, it was so painful. It actually woke me up at 2:00 in the morning, and I had to get up and take painkillers. I was like, I felt like, you know, just because it's a finger, I was like, this is ridiculous, that I'm, you know, getting up and that bothered about pain in a little finger. But it was so sore. Since then, it's not been as sore as that, and it's just a pain having to constantly change the dressings. And it tells you that, you know, it might look like it's infected in the first week, but that's actually just, it's a chemical, what does she call it? That's just the chemical acid or something. I don't know, whatever she said, I was like, wow, that sounds a bit scary. But that's the phenol that they put on it is just to destroy the nerves. So she's just cut it. She's almost cut it the opposite way. And I'm like, am I almost going to have the opposite problem where it looks like it's growing the other way? But I'm like, you know what? I took a risk. That might happen. And if it does, oh well. At least I tried to correct the problem that I had that was bothering me. And I know it's a silly problem. Like, I know my friend that I was walking with was just like, I was telling her that I don't like going to the dentist. And so, because she's got veneers, my friend, and turkey teeth, as she calls them, and she had them done in Turkey. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to have that done, even though I wish my teeth were whiter. They're starting to go wonky again because my fixed retainers came off, and I never had the retainers done again because I've just got so scared of the dentist over the years, you know. And she was just laughing at me going like, I can't believe you're having your nail cut off over something that's barely noticeable, but you won't get your teeth done, you know. I mean, I don't have the money to buy veneers as it happens, but I suppose we've all got our fears, haven't we? And going to the dentist is just, I absolutely detest it, you know. Anyway, we'll see. I know it's a stupid thing. But if there's something that bothers you, why not get it sorted if you can, you know. And this has bothered me all my life. So it's not like a new thing. It's not an aging thing. It's just something that's bothered me all my life. And so I'm excited to see what it's like when it's healed. Now, you can't put nail polish on for 6 to 8 weeks, she said. So it's going to be a while. And I have to keep these dressings on for quite a while as well. I'm okay with that. I probably shouldn't have been spending the money, because I have to say money is like leaking out of this household at the minute with all the things going on, because there's been the Watson stuff, of course. Although I think our insurance is going to cover it. We've got a £7,000 limit on Pet Plan, with Pet Plan. And they've always been really good about paying out. But there is a £7,000 limit, and we already had spent £2,000 this year. And then the surgery for Watson, well, the first bit where they do the staging, where they do all the scans and biopsies and stuff, that was £2,000, and then the surgery was £3,000. So that is the £7,000. So we're going to have to pay the rest of his medical bills, or his medical bills for the rest of the year. And he has a lot of medication, you know, and I think now we need more, because he's limping even though he's barely walking. We know he's got arthritis, and we've been kind of putting him on Librela because the gabapentin was working for him, but he was limping despite being on gabapentin. So I think that we might have to put him on Librela. I'm not sure. Anyway, that would be another cost, and that's something else I need to look into a bit more. That's not where at all. What else is the money going out? Oh, I've got an MOT and service. That isn't gone out yet. I've got an MOT and service coming up on my car. And I think you guys were right about the gas exchange. That's what I need, or the gas recharge. That's what I need done in my car, because I was in Kev's car yesterday and I was like, oh my God, it's so cool in here. I popped into Marks and Spencer's, got back in the car, and I was like, it is so cold in here. I was like, my car never gets this cold. And he was like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, not even in the front, you know, let alone in the back, because Kev's got blowers in the back in his car, but I've not got that in mine. Vents, you know. So I definitely think that needs doing. So I need to have a service. And what was the other thing there's loads of bits and pieces of money's gone out, like silly things like my passport. And do you remember I was telling you about my driving license? Well, I sort of briefly mentioned. So I went to buy another month's worth of Manjaro. It's actually a pain in that I get it from, I was going to say an online pharmacy. Who doesn't get it from an online pharmacy nowadays? But you have to give ID. I had to give ID, and I didn't understand why I had to give ID, because I was like, when I joined you, I gave you ID. You know, anyway, they were wanting ID, and I was like, okay. Searched everywhere for my driving license, because I knew that my passport had expired, because I went and looked for my passport to give them ID in the first place. I can't for the life of me think what I gave them as ID when I first joined up, because my passport will have been expired then as well. It's been expired quite a while. So I thought, well, let me see if I can find my driving license. So I searched everywhere. I could not find my driving license. Did I spray this side? Can you remember? I can't remember if I did or not. Well, I'll just again, will it? And I couldn't find my driving license anyway, so I went to try and renew my driving license, and look at that, there's like bits of, it's like dandruff. I'm getting a lot of dandruff lately, and I've literally just washed my hair and used a dandruff shampoo, because I've been noticing that bit at the side. It's only on one side. I can't renew my driving license because I wanted to use my passport as the photo ID and I can't. And that otherwise I can't do it online without that. Apparently, you know, like with the passport, I could just upload my photo online, and my passport's on my way. So as soon as I get my passport, I'm going to renew my driving license. But I said to Kev, does that not mean that I'm driving illegally? Because actually, I looked at my driving license. I had a picture of my driving license. And I want to see when it had expired, to see if I could use it to get my Manjaro. And it expired in 2021. And I said to him, does that mean that I've been driving illegally for however many years? And I'm assuming it does, but I have never, ever in my life been asked for a driving license. You know, you see it on American TV all the time, license and something else. I've never been asked for my driving licence since. The last time I was asked for my driving licence, I was 19 years old or something, and it was because I was pulled over for speeding, and I was told I had to take my driving licence to the police station and pay my fine, which I did. And that's the last time I've ever been asked for my driving licence. And in fact, I remember we had this visiting police officer at this place I worked. It was called Commercial Union. And she said, don't carry a driving licence. You shouldn't be carrying ID on you. I can't remember why. There was something about it being stolen or something. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, I guess I've been driving illegally. I mean, I don't need to drive at the minute, thankfully, because with Watson being sick, he's not really well enough to go, on adventures or anything, although he's definitely nearly about ready, because we took him on adventures yesterday, although we did reduce his Piriton, and I think the Piriton is a lot what's making him sleepy. Watson's doing really well, by the way. He's recovering really, really well, and we had some amazing news on Friday night. We got a call from the oncologist. We were waiting for them to call, and we knew that they were going to discuss revision surgery and chemotherapy, because they had told us that they hadn't got all the cancer, they hadn't got margins. But Kev and I had already discussed that we weren't going to do revision surgery, because with having removed most of the mass, there was only a 10% or a 10 to 20% chance of it coming back in that same location. And that's what we were doing it for. Do you remember, we didn't want it to ulcerate. Anyway, they phoned and told us they had another look at the results. The surgeon had come back from holiday, and she wasn't happy that it said they hadn't got margins, because she thought they had. There was a very big medical explanation that honestly I didn't understand. I'm going to ask them to put it in writing so that I can read it and see if I can understand it any better. Something to do with the deep margins. What they've said is they couldn't get deep margins, but there were no deep margins because it was his foreskin, and therefore they took it all off. So anyway, the best part of it is he's cancer-free now. He doesn't have any. They got margins. They're considering it clear margins. So they're not recommending revision surgery, which is fantastic. They are recommending chemotherapy, but we said we weren't going to do that because it'll upset his tummy. They agreed with that, and we're like, yeah, that's a reasonable decision to make. And the only reason, I couldn't really understand why they want to do chemo, but it's just a kind of just in case situation, like in case there's any microscopic cancer cells floating around because of the area, it's an aggressive type in that area normally, although his tumour grade has come back as a grade 2. We wanted a grade 1, it's come back as a grade 2, and it's behaving like a grade 1. It is behaving very quietly, she said. It's a very quiet tumour. So we're delighted, and he's doing really, really well. He's got a few other things going on, but I'm going to do an update video today, I think, on Watson, and I will talk more about that. But that's been my life for the past 2 weeks. It's just been looking after Watson, Oh, I'll tell you something funny about Watson's recovery and Kev. Well, I found it really funny. Is I don't think I've ever sent Kev for sanitary towels or anything like that for me, or, tampons, etc. But we needed them for Watson, because I got these, they're called belly bands. It's basically a nappy for boy dogs to put on while he was in the house so that he could get a break from having a cone on all the time. And it was secure enough that he didn't want to bother it, he didn't want to bother his wound. But of course the wound is leaking fluid and blood. And so at first I was just washing these. I bought a big 5-pack and I was constantly washing them. And I thought, hold on a minute, I'll just put pads in them. And actually they'd sent me 3 pads, 5 free pads with one of them. And so I was like, right, couldn't find them online from this company. I thought that was pointless. You sent me 3 pads, but then they don't actually sell them. So I'm just going to buy sanitary pads from Boots or whatever. Anyway, I bought some, but I needed 3 per nappy width-wise, because it was, I suppose, when he was wriggling around, the blood and stuff was going everywhere. But I ran out of them, and I needed Kev to get them on the way home. And he was in Boots, and he sent me, the ones I'd wanted were these organic cotton ones that I'd got, Always Dailies. And I said to him, just get dailies. I said, and I given him a picture. And he sent me this WhatsApp and said, they don't have the ones you said, what will I do? And I was like, well, there should be some dailies. And I was like, do you know what? I said, why don't you FaceTime me? I said, so you can show me the shelf and I'll tell you what to get. Well, he FaceTimed me and then he's skimming along the shelf and I was like, Kev, slow down. And he's like, but he looked terrified. And I thought this was hilarious because, like I said, he just looked terrified. And I was like, what are those ones there? You know, and he's picking them up and showing. I was like, he's not the type of guy that I didn't think he'd be the type of guy to be embarrassed by that kind of thing, you know. But clearly not clearly he was. He was just freaking out that he'd get the wrong thing, you know. And when he got home, I said to him, well, that's why I said to do it on FaceTime and show me the shelf. I said, because there's all sorts. There's like long and there's absorbency type and there's G-string and there's black ones and white ones because he picks them up. And I was like, not those are black, you know. I don't want those because I actually want to see how much Watson's bleeding, you know. That to me is really useful information, and it has been really useful because we can tell there's barely anything coming out now, so he's obviously, you know, really healing well. Anyway, when he got home, I said to him, you look bloody terrified on that FaceTime. And he said there was women waiting to like beside me, and that's what was really freaking him out. It wasn't the section he was in. He said, and also they were closing because they closed at 6 and it was like 10 to 6, and he said they had the shutters down, and I was just like panicking about the whole thing. And then there's this woman sort of in the same section as me getting in the way and looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? You know, I just thought that was quite amusing. Oh dear. Anyway, like I said, Watson is healing and hopefully we won't need them. There's barely anything coming out of him at the minute. So, and he's got one more stitch to absorb. And we're back at the vet tomorrow to get another wound check. I think we might need a third wound check. I don't know whether she'll sign him off tomorrow or not. And then after that, we'll need his kidney checks and talk about his arthritis and whatnot. Anyway, like I said, I'll do that in the update. Let me tell you about foundations. Remember I said I was going to buy some new foundations and I wasn't sure what I was going to buy, but I wanted to look at the Huda Beauty. I looked at two. I actually bought two. I bought two Huda Beauty and one Anastasia one. So the Easy Blur is one sitting behind me. It's one of the ones I bought by Huda Beauty. And I also bought her, what's the other one called? I thought I bought it through. No, I didn't. Because one that I bought is Luminous Matte. I don't know if that's the Anastasia one. But I bought another Huda Beauty one and I also bought an Anastasia one. And the Anastasia one, oh my God, it was so hard with colours. The colours, thank God I went in as well because I had written down the colours that I thought I was so that I could kind of go straight and have a look at that colour. And I was thinking I'd just be like, yeah, that's the colour for me and done. Because actually when I was in there looking at stuff, Kev was taking Watson for a walk, but he had texted me and said he's really not interested in walking. You know, he was obviously still feeling ill and still feeling doped up. And so I was in a bit of a rush. But the colours that I chose online were nothing like the colours that I needed. So thankfully I could go to Boots and check it out. And Boots had the Huda Beauty and Anastasia. I went into Edinburgh. And yeah, the colours were really hard in the Anastasia one. Oh my God, they seem to do like one that's like almost white and then it just suddenly the colours get really, really dark. I thought it was just really odd. I was like, this is really, really odd. And I've got a colour and I really like the foundation, but I'm like, the colour I think is too light. And so I don't know if it's going to be one that's just a waste of time or that I'll only use when I've not got any fake tan on, you know, because it's so light, which isn't very often. I've normally got my fake tan on. And yeah, so that was a bummer, but the foundation is actually nice enough. It's a little bit thick, so actually thinking about it, I probably won't want to repurchase it. And then I got the two Huda Beauty ones, and with the Huda Beauty Easy Blur, which is just this one, just a little plastic thing. That's a really nice lightweight foundation, and I like that as an everyday foundation. I've been wearing that ever since getting it actually, and that's what I've got on today. But there was a little free sample of their Easy Blur primer. Now I don't use a primer. I haven't used a primer since working in the NHS, I think, because I just don't need my makeup to last that long, you know. And I always thought, like, if a foundation doesn't look nice on its own, like, it's not, like, I feel like a foundation should at least look nice on its own without needing a primer. So I never used it for that either. Did I not just spray this? I'm sure I did. But I love the primer. Really love the primer. So it's worked out that I'm including it in it because I've actually ordered one. I've ordered a primer, not the full size. I've ordered a little deluxe mini size, but I'm going to try it because I tried it with the Huda Beauty Easy Blur and it looked really, really nice. The foundation looks lovely and it doesn't look as nice. It doesn't look quite as nice without the primer, which, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with, but it does mean that if you've got the time and patience to use this primer, it does look really nice, you know. And I want to try it with other foundations. I did try it with another primer. I tried it with my All Nighter, Evan to Kate All Nighter. That's the only primer that I owned, and it still didn't look as nice. It just looks a little bit, doesn't, what am I trying to say, doesn't go, a little bit patchy, a little bit like you can see you've got foundation on, you know what I mean? Not like perfectly smooth. But with the primer, it just almost looked like skin, you know. It was really nice. So like that one with, and I've ordered the primer, but even on its own, I've been wearing it on its own. So I have it on my skin today on its own. And it just takes a little bit more to sort of blend it in, I feel like. Then this is the Anastasia one that I got. And like I said, that one's nice, but maybe a little bit caker. And the Huda Beauty one I thought I had through here, but it must be through there. It actually is in a sort of square plastic thing. And I really like that one. And I'm going to swap that over today and start using that a bit more because I only used it once, but I did really like it. So yeah, I've enjoyed using these new foundations though. It's been nice because I've not bought a new foundation since the Urban Decay Face Bond. And I've been pretty much using nothing but that since, you know. Is that everything done? Let's just have a look. I'll always look to see if there's any straight bits, like that's a straight bit there that I've missed. So after this, I'm going to do a video for Watson's channel, just updating everybody on where he's at, and then he'll probably be awake and ready for a walk at about 10ish, and we'll just go locally because he's on the full dose of Puriton at the minute. We're not really sure what to do about his other drugs, but yeah, I shall take him for a walk and then edit these videos. And then what else is on my list? I need to make his toys up for the week, make up his enrichment toys, and sometimes I do a video of those depending on what the toys are. I need to get this house cleaned, that's for sure. And I need to work on my Udemy course. I'm doing a course on enrichment games because I don't really earn money, and I need to earn money because, you know, our mortgage has gone up. I know everybody has, but, you know, the mortgage has gone up, I don't know, £300 or something. It's gone up a ridiculous amount. That doesn't look as curly as I'd like it, so I'll do it again. Gas and leckie's gone up. Everything's gone up, and I'm earning less because I used to earn £500 or £600 from YouTube a month, and that's now £100. I used to get money from affiliates, not very much, but I rarely do anything affiliate nowadays, because I'm not doing as many videos, or like I'm doing a video like today. I'll link that on this thing for you, and it normally is an affiliate link, but yeah, I don't really do much in affiliate links anymore, because if I was doing a great big video on favourites, I do need to do a favourites video actually. Then there'd be more affiliate links, you know. And then what else do I earn from? Patreon, I get £30 a month. I still do videos over on Patreon. And then I've got my Udemy course, which I don't know what I earn on that. I get the occasional couple of £100 every few months. It's probably £100 a month. But that's like really passive because I don't really do much on it. It's a grooming course, but yeah, I'm going to do another course on there, I think. That's everything I've got on my chat list. Actually, that's not true. I've got a whole lot of other stuff on my chat list, but I shall chat to about it next time. Thank you so much for all your positive comments about these videos. I know the lighting looks a bit weird to me in there, but hopefully it's not too weird to watch. And thank you for your lovely positive comments. It does just feel to me like I'm chatting to my friends, you know, so it's really nice doing these videos. But I will be doing, you know, focused beauty videos at some point, but like I said, at the minute it's just all focused on Watson. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.